Hi, gang. Bob Boving here to welcome you to the Mystery Project. Tonight, we're at Chapter 3 of Find the Lady by David Ellis. In trying to extricate himself from a web of circumstantial evidence surrounding a phony check racket and a murder, Andrew Marsh is prepared to try anything, even to tracking down a man he doesn't know, but who, like himself, lost a checkbook. His search is successful up to a point. But when he goes to Sheldon Everhart's home, he is invited in only to end up facing a very determined young woman who pushes a large handgun in his face. Find the Lady, Chapter 3.
Suppose I tell you why I'm interested in Mr. Everard's checkbook. Will you still pull that trigger?
I may not. It depends what you have to say.
But before I tell you, will you do something for me?
You're not in a position to ask favours.
It's hardly a favour. I'd just like you to introduce yourself.
I'm Sheldon Everard's daughter.
How do you do?
I think we can dispense with the courtesies.
Could we dispense with that gun as well?
No, we could not.
It'll make your arm ache, you know, holding it up like that. If we sat down, you could use the chair arm as a rest.
Considering who you are, Mr. Marsh, you're very thoughtful.
You don't know who I am, Miss Everard. All you know about me is that I arrived by taxi and I asked to speak to your father about his checkbook.
I can guess who sent you.
No one sent me. Are you going to adopt my suggestion and sit down?
Stop wasting time and tell me why you came here.
Oh, very well. Some dud cheques have been passed in the West End, and they came out of a book that was issued to me. On top of that, a friend of mine died after a hit-and-run accident last Saturday. Actually, the police think Roger, my friend that is, was deliberately run down. In his desk, there were 4 checkbooks that didn't belong to him. Now, the police believe Roger and I were in the dud check racket together, and I drove the car that killed him. Your arm's starting to ache, isn't it?
Never mind about my arm. Tell me the rest of your story.
Well, I think a girl called Sheila Ramsey stole my checkbook. I also think that Roger, and several others as well, are involved in this dud check racket. I can't put the police onto Sheila because she's disappeared. That's why I'm here. I was hoping your father would be able to help me.
You say you've never even met him. How did you find out where he lived?
One of the checkbooks in Roger's desk was his. I traced him through one of the counterfoils. It was made out to a shop in Regent's... Damn!
What's the matter?
It cost me a 4-guinea shirt to get your address, and I've left it in the taxi.
In any event, you wasted your money. My father's dead. He committed suicide.
I'm sorry. May I ask you a question about him?
What is it?
Was his death connected in any way with the reason why I came to see him?
Yes. Your friend's partners are versatile men, Mr. Marsh. They don't limit their activities to passing dud cheques and staging hit-and-run accidents.
You don't think that I'm one of them, though?
No, I don't. I owe you an apology.
Why?
For frightening you with this gun.
You're not really a very good shot, are you?
How did you guess?
Someone who was used to a gun would have remembered to take off the safety catch.
The what?
There, by your finger.
Oh, I wouldn't even know how a safety catch works.
Well, I'll show you before I go, in case you get a visit from someone who is a partner of Roger's.
Thank you. Can I get you that other drink now?
Oh, I'll help myself. May I?
Please.
Do you mind talking about your father?
No.
Did the police come to see him about dud cheques?
Yes, but that was only part of it. Before he died, he wrote me a letter telling me everything that had happened. It all started from the day he joined the Excelsior Club. Have you heard of it, Mr. Marsh?
I've seen the name, that's all. It was on the counterfoils of 3 of the checkbooks in Roger's desk. What kind of a place is it?
A gambling club with a membership confined to men with a certain type of background.
Like your father?
Yes, he was custom-made for them. He had a taste for gambling, wasn't averse to women. Just the opposite, in fact. And he possessed information that was worth a lot of money. Well, one night he lost rather more than he could afford. The Excelsior Club employs hostesses with a talent for comforting men who are sorry for themselves. One of them took my father back to her flat when the club closed.
Do you know her name?
No, I don't.
I thought it might have been Sheila Ramsey. Please, go on, Miss Everard.
Well, a week after my father went home with this girl, an envelope came through the post. There were some photographs in it. They'd been taken in her flat. I've no need to tell you this sort of...
How much did they ask for the negatives?
Their price was information.
About what?
My father worked in the Foreign Office. They wanted particulars of confidential documents.
Oh.
Military secrets that would fetch a very high price outside this country.
The Excelsior Club deals in espionage, then?
No, I don't think so. My father said in his letter that only 1 or 2 members of the club were civil servants. Most of them were businessmen.
Industrial information's worth a lot of money these days.
I think that's what the club's interested in. Money. And they're not particular how they get it.
In your father's case, they threatened to ruin him with these photographs?
That's right.
Mm.
They phoned him and said they'd send them to the newspapers with faked evidence that he was already a traitor.
Well, why didn't he just resign?
It wouldn't have been any use. They said only one thing could stop them using the photographs. The information they wanted.
So he gave in?
Do you blame him?
No. If I'd been in his position with those photographs in front of me and that voice on the phone...
The voice didn't give him time to consider the whys and wherefores. It demanded the first payment within 24 hours. Well, to begin with, the information they wanted was relatively unimportant.
Oh, yes.
But after that, with each phone call, their demands became more and more exorbitant. By then, my father was committed. It was too late for him to draw back.
Poor devil.
But eventually they drove him to the point where he was prepared to refuse them and face the consequences. Then the police came to see him. They wanted to know if he'd lost a checkbook.
And he had?
Yes. Yes, he'd missed it after the night he spent in that girl's flat.
He hadn't told his bank that he'd lost it either.
No. The police told him his cheques had been used in shops in the West End. They'd been signed with a false name.
Do you know if that name was Derek Brown?
I've no idea what the name was.
Ah.
Well, Father realized that if the police caught the man who'd used his cheques, they might uncover the other activities of the Excelsior Club as well. He found he wasn't prepared to face the consequences after all, so he used this gun.
Have you told anyone else about the letter your father left for you?
No, you're the first to hear of it. Father's doctor gave evidence at the inquest. He said Mother's death must have preyed on his mind. She died in a car crash a year ago. Father was driving.
Have the police been back again about his checkbook?
No.
Well, who did you think I was? Someone from the Excelsior Club?
Yes.
Ah. Do you, live here alone, Miss Everard?
Why?
Well, it's possible that you might have a visitor from the Excelsior Club.
Oh, well, I'm on my own at night. I've a woman comes in during the day to help me with the housework. She left just before you came.
I must remember to initiate you into the mysteries of that safety catch. Did you keep your father's letter, Miss Everard?
No, I burnt it a few days ago. But I think I've told you everything that was in it.
Only your father had given you the name of that hostess. I suppose he didn't even tell you the address of her flat?
No.
Ah.
Oh, dear. You haven't learned very much for your 4 guineas, have you?
Well, at least I know that everything stems from the Excelsior Club. And finding out where that is shouldn't be too difficult.
Oh, I can tell you that.
Oh?
I found Father's membership card the other day. As a matter of fact, I walked past the club last Friday. It's just round the corner from where I was working.
I can't imagine you in an office.
How about a photographer's studio?
Oh, yes, you'd fit there. You're a model, I suppose.
Yes. That membership card should be in this drawer.
What does the club look like from the outside?
Oh, not very imposing. Just a doorway in a street in Soho.
Well, if you're round there again, don't let anyone see you taking an interest in that doorway.
I won't. Here's the membership card, Mr. Marsh.
Ah, thank you. May I borrow this?
Yes. Yes, I can't see that it'll be any use, though.
It's still valid. It would get me into the club.
They'd realize you weren't Sheldon Everard.
That would be the idea.
Knowing the kind of people they are, I doubt whether they'd let you get out of that club alive.
If it comes to spending the next few years in jail or risking my neck in the Excelsior Club, well, I hope you'll forgive me for using your father's name.
Of course. And I wish you luck, Mr. Marsh.
Thank you. And now I must go. I promised to take my wife out to dinner.
How old is Margaret Everard?
Oh, 23, 4.
Attractive?
Well, yes, I suppose so.
I thought she might be.
Why?
You're going to take on the Excelsior Club single-handed for her sake, aren't you?
All I'm going to do is try to find Sheila Ramsay for my own sake and no one else's.
You'll use that membership card eventually, though, won't you?
Only if Rankin forces me to.
How do you know that the club's connected with what's happened to you and to Sheldon Everard?
I don't know, but it seems logical to suppose that it is. I believe it's a cover for organized blackmail with the dud checks as a sideline, and murder when necessary.
I see. And knowing all that, you still think that without any help from anyone, you can bring the existence of the club to an end?
No.
Then what's the point of your one-man crusade?
The police won't act without evidence. I'm hoping I'll find some.
Why don't you go to the police now?
Because I'd no proof. Sheila Ramsey's disappeared. Margaret Everard destroyed her father's letter. Rankin would think it was a fantastic tale I'd invented to get myself off the hook.
Lack of proof isn't the only reason why you won't go to Rankin, is it?
Well, I don't know of any other.
I do. If you can terminate the career of the Excelsior Club, you might stop the police finding out that Everard was a traitor, thereby earning his daughter's gratitude. By the way, just what form are you hoping her gratitude would take?
Would you care?
I'm still your wife.
And for God's sake, act like it and stop this eternal bitching. Come on, let's get out of here. Hamilton Road, please.
Hamilton Road, right.
Andrew?
Yes?
I'm sorry for the things I said just now. But you've asked me to try and understand your point of view. I want you to try and understand mine. You see, to me it looks as though you're prepared to risk everything. Your job, maybe even your life.
You're exaggerating.
Oh, please, let me finish. And all this is to help a girl you met for the first time today.
Oh, I'm not that unselfish. I'm trying to help myself. If she benefits as well, it'll be incidental.
Well, I agree with one thing you've said. You aren't unselfish, are you? My wishes don't concern you at the moment, do they?
Of course they do. Joyce, listen. Suppose I give up and concentrate on selling second-hand cars. What happens to you when Rankin knocks on the door and arrests me for passing dud checks, murdering Roger, and anything else he can think of?
Now you're exaggerating.
I don't think I am. If there was some kind of financial reward for what I was doing, you wouldn't be so anxious to discourage me, would you?
Now, that isn't fair. I'm discouraging you because I know that if you forget Sergeant Rankin and Margaret Everard and the Excelsior Club, you can be a success again.
You want the things that come with success.
Well, is that my fault? When we had money, you told me it was there to be spent. You got me into the habit of buying whatever I wanted. That's one habit women don't find it easy to break, and I'm no exception.
Yeah, even Rankin would believe that.
Talk about people being bitchy.
I'm sorry. Do you mind if I ask him to drop you on the corner?
Why? Where are you going?
Round to Sheila Ramsey's flat. I've been thinking about her. I don't believe she left there of her own accord.
Why not?
She was the one person who knew how I lost my checkbook. Therefore, she had to be got out of the way.
You mean they've murdered her as well?
Not necessarily. Probably they've just hidden her away somewhere. But I know damn well she lived in that flat a few weeks ago, and the man who's there now could have been lying when he said he'd never heard of her. Well, this time he's not going to get away with slamming the door in my face. Stop on the next corner, please.
Okay, Goff.
You're persisting with your one-man crusade, in spite of what I've said.
For the moment.
I see. Well, you're not the only one who can be selfish, you know.
What does that mean?
It means that I'm not going to wait forever for you to come to your senses.
Good evening. Remember me?
No, I don't think... Wait a minute. You're the chap that was here last week, asking for some girl or other.
Sheila Ramsey. Have you remembered anything about her yet?
I told you you've got the wrong address. Now, if you don't mind, I'm busy.
I'll only keep you a minute.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
I'm coming into your flat.
Oh, no, you're not. Come on, out of it.
You'll have to put me out. Well?
I'm not in the mood for a roughhouse.
That's just as well, because I am. My name's Marsh, Andrew Marsh.
Damn you and your name. Where do you think you're going now?
In here. This is the lounge, isn't it? Oh, I beg your pardon. I didn't know you had company. Good evening.
Hello, darling.
You live downstairs, don't you?
You mind your own damn business.
I met this young lady after I'd called on you last time.
She doesn't know you're Sheila Ramsey either.
So she told me. I suppose you've never heard of the Excelsior Club.
The what?
He said the Excelsior Club, darling.
Did he? I don't go for clubs.
You prefer to have your fun in private, don't you, darling?
Shut up, Carol. Now look, are you going to get out, or do I have to call the police?
Darling, the poor man's only trying to find his girlfriend.
She isn't my girlfriend. I met her in a pub and took her out because I wanted somebody to talk to.
Oh, now that's not very original, darling, is it?
It's the truth. And because of it, I'm up to my neck in trouble. The only one I know who could get me out of it is Sheila. Now, if you've got her address, or you know how I could get in touch with her, I would be very grateful if you'd tell me.
You took her out? When, lately?
Yes.
What colour's her hair?
Eh?
Is she blonde, brunette?
Oh, she's a redhead.
Titian, darling.
Oh, you must have seen her lately, then. She only had it dyed after...
After what?
I think he's on the level. Do you, Carol?
I'm sure he is, Peter, darling.
Oh, your name's Peter, is it?
Peter Lloyd. All right, then. I know Sheila Ramsey.
It's taken you long enough to admit it.
Sheila asked me to say I'd never heard of her.
Why?
She's married. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
She left her husband a few months ago. He knocked her around. Led her a hell of a life. Ever since, she's been trying to keep out of his way. After she left him, she even dyed her hair. She thought if she changed her appearance, it might help. Anyway, it didn't. He found out where she was living, and someone told Sheila. So she gave up this flat, and if he came here looking for her, she asked me to tell him the tale I told you.
And you thought I was her husband?
Only natural, isn't it?
Have you any idea where Sheila's living now?
No.
Didn't she give you a forwarding address for mail?
She said it'd be better if she just went without telling me anything.
Yeah. You don't know any of her friends, I suppose?
I don't even know if she's got any. I only met her once, the day I moved in here. I asked her about sending on letters and things, and that's when she told me about her husband.
I see. Well, I'll just have to think of something else.
I'm sorry we can't do anything for you.
Well, actually, you could do something. You know there is such a person as Sheila Ramsey. Now, you wouldn't mind telling the police you'd met her, would you?
I don't want to get involved in anything.
I won't bring you into it unless it's absolutely necessary.
Well, all right, then. But if you're going to tell the police I met her, let me know first, will you?
I will. Let's hope it won't come to that. Well, I'll be on my way. Good night, Carol.
Night, darling. Good luck.
Thanks. Good night, Mr. Lloyd.
You know the way out, don't you?
Yes.
What the hell did you go into that darling act for?
He was bound to wonder what I was doing up here, wasn't he?
Oh. You could have said you were borrowing something.
You mean like a book? Would you lend me the one with a fairy story in about dear little Sheila?
Ha-ha. Damn.
Have you found her yet?
Mind your own damn business.
I'd rather mind yours. There's more money in it.
You get your share. Look, I'm going out. I've written a phone number down on the pad. Keep trying it.
Who is it?
Never mind. When they answer, tell them you're speaking for me. The message is, Marsh is being a nuisance. He's got to be stopped. You got that?
Marsh is being a nuisance. He's got to be stopped. What's it mean?
Just see you pass on that message. Then get the hell out of my flat.
Oh.
Darling.
Marsh, I want you a minute. Come in the office.
Right, Mr. Rodney.
The police phoned while you were out. They found your car.
Where?
I didn't ask. They want to see you at the station.
I'll go this evening. Thanks. Oh, by the way, I see your car's due for relicensing.
Oh, is it? Thanks for the reminder. Listen, Marsh. How are you fixed with the law over this cheque business?
I don't know. I haven't heard from Sergeant Rankin for a few days. I imagine the situation hasn't changed.
And you're still hell-bent on doing the copper's job for them?
No. My wife thinks I ought to leave it to the police. I've promised her I will.
Well, generally I'm not in favour of promising wives anything. But in this case, I think you've done the right thing. Now, between you and me, I'm buying Frank Stewart's garage in about 3 months from now. You've got a lot to learn, Marsh. For one thing, you're too soft with the customers, but I'll knock that out of you. Keep your mind on my business, and I'll remember you when I'm deciding who's going to be manager at Stewart's.
Thank you, Mr. Rodney.
You've got the appearance of a manager, and besides that, you've got something that's worth a lot in this trade. You look like an honest man.
Oh, I wish the police had the same opinion.
Forget 'em. You haven't done anything serious, like parking in a restricted area, so sooner or later they'll forget you. All right, get back outside.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Rodney.
Hello there.
Hello, Carol. I'm afraid I don't know your other name.
It's Ransom, but I won't hold you to it.
You went... Oh, I see. What are you doing here?
I've been looking at that cute little sports car over there.
You thinking of buying a car?
If I survive my test next week, I'm doing everything I can to make sure I pass.
Are you really interested in that sports car?
Of course I am.
Or shall I give you the technical details?
Will it go, darling? That's all I want to know.
It'll go, to the extent of 120 miles an hour.
It'd be dangerous for me to drive it, wouldn't it?
Probably.
Almost as dangerous as it would be for you if you go on looking for Sheila Ramsey.
You're not just guessing, are you, Carol?
Aren't I?
I don't think so. I've been wondering why you picked this particular garage to look for a car. It wasn't a coincidence, was it? You knew I worked here.
You wouldn't like to take me out in that car, would you?
How did you know I worked here?
Darling, you do ask a lot of questions.
Where do you work, Carol? At the Excelsior Club.
Darling, if I were you, I'd forget I ever heard of that place.
Sheila Ramsey worked there, didn't she?
Darling, I'd love to buy this cute little car, but I'd be scared stiff of driving it. I mean, breaking the speed limit's one thing, but killing someone's another, isn't it?
Marsh?
Yes, Mr. Rodney?
Phone call for you. I think it's your wife.
Oh, right. Thanks. Carol, wait here, will you? I'll be as quick as I can.
Don't upset wifey, darling. Can I sit in the car?
Help yourself. Hello?
Andrew?
Yes, what do you want, Joyce?
Well, there's no need to snap at me.
I'm sorry. You took me away from something important. What is it?
The Marsdens have asked us to have dinner with them tonight.
You haven't accepted.
Yes, of course I have.
You better ring them back and ask if we can postpone it.
Why? You won't be late tonight, will you?
I might be. You remember the girl I told you about? The one I saw in Peter Lloyd's flat last night?
Yes.
She walked in here 10 minutes ago. She pretended to be looking for a car. Actually, she came to warn me to give up trying to find Sheila Ramsey.
You told me you had given up.
I know, but this girl could work for the Excelsior Club.
What did you say her name was?
Carol Ransom. Joyce, something must have happened to make her come to me. I've no idea what it is, but I intend to take advantage of it.
You've just said she came to warn you. Take her advice and...
I can't. I know I gave you my word, but forcing these people into doing something that'll give them away is my only chance. I'm going to ask this girl to meet me when I finish here tonight and... Hello? Hello? Damn. Mr. Rodney?
Yeah?
The girl I was talking to. Do you know where she is?
The blonde job with the deluxe finish?
Yes.
And she cleared off just after you'd left her.
Blast.
Did you think she was going to put some commission in your pocket?
I thought she was going to do more than that for me. Anyway, I can find her again. I know where she lives.
Good evening, Mr. Marsh.
Why, Miss Everard. I didn't expect to find you here.
Well, I had to go into town this afternoon. I thought I'd call on the way home, see if you had any news. You don't mind, do you?
No, certainly not. Have you been here long?
Only a minute or two. I tried your doorbell, but no one answered. I was just going when you came up the stairs.
Oh, well, my wife should be in. Come in, Miss Everard.
Thank you.
Joyce? Joyce! Excuse me a moment.
Yes.
Good Lord.
What is it? Is anything wrong?
I don't know. I thought my wife might have left a message. I've been looking on her dressing table. That's where she usually leaves any notes for me. Some of her things have gone.
Are you sure?
Yes. Normally it's cluttered with makeup stuff and so on. I haven't seen it as empty as this since the last time she went to stay with her mother. Just a minute. Some of her clothes are missing out of her wardrobe.
You're more observant than most husbands, if you can tell that, just by looking in there.
No, as a matter of fact, she asked me to do something about the catch. The door wouldn't close.
Oh.
It wasn't the catch, though. It was the amount of clothes she had in here. They were forcing the door open. Look at it now. The door closes quite easily. I better look in the spare room. I expect I'll find a suitcase is missing as well.
You mean, you think Mrs. Marsh has gone away somewhere?
Well, that's one way of putting it.
What's the other?
I think my wife has left me.
Did you have any luck?
Yes. The woman in the flat next door saw Joyce leave. She happened to be looking out.
When did she go?
About 3 o'clock. There was a man with her. He carried the suitcase. They got in a car parked outside.
A chauffeur with a private hire car taking her to the station.
Possibly. Where the devil was she making for, though? The most likely place would be her mother's, but well, she hadn't arrived there when I phoned.
She'll get in touch with you when she's ready.
Maybe. But if she's gone because I broke my word to her, I'd have expected her to leave a note telling me when I could contact her. Then the next move would have to come from me.
You know, I can't help thinking about this man who was with your wife this afternoon. Could he have been... well, someone who'd been trying to persuade your wife to leave you?
I never suspected Joyce was interested in anyone, but, well, considering the existence we've led lately, it's not out of the question, I suppose. Yeah, perhaps she's changed her mind and come back. Excuse me.
Yes, of course.
Telegram, sir.
Oh, thank you. There's no reply. There. Here you are, son.
Oh, Tom. Night, sir.
Good night. Listen to this. I've gone away because I have no choice. Derek Brown has come between us. Forget him, and I may be able to come home. Joyce.
Derek Brown. That was the name on your cheques, wasn't it?
Yeah?
Well, then she's definitely gone away because you broke your promise.
That's how it looks. On second thoughts, though, I don't believe Joyce sent this telegram.
Why not?
I'm positive I never mentioned to her the name my cheques had been signed with. There were so many other things to tell her that was one detail that didn't seem important.
Then who sent the telegram?
I don't know. But my guess is they were connected with the Excelsior Club. Listen to the message again. I have gone away because I have no choice. Derek Brown has come between us. Forget him, and I may be able to come home. Do you know what I think that means?
What?
Stop being a damned nuisance if you ever want to see your wife again.
Pressure of the very worst kind. And it adds one more level to the terrifying threats that surround Andrew Marsh, no matter where he turns. This was Chapter 3 of Find the Lady by David Ellis. In the cast, you heard Noel Johnson as Andrew, Angela Carstairs as Margaret, Fenella Hasbrook as Joyce, Nigel Lindstrom as Peter Lloyd, Roselle Seeley-Thorpe as Carol Ransom, and Charles Berry as Mr. Rudney. Next week, Andrew Marsh gets his car back. But that's about the only good news. And even then, there's a high price to pay.
Well, I believe you ran him down because he was going to talk. Now we'll go for a walk.
Where to?
On the back of the station. Your car is in the yard there.
That unrolls in Chapter 4 of Find the Lady. I'm Bob Boving, thanking you for listening and inviting your comments. Our coordinating producer is Barry Morgan. The executive producer of the Mystery Project is Bill Howell. See you next week.